How do people manage teams who are working virtually in different cities across the country? How do you manage remote employees? And this is a really good question because I think that's one of the things that we did a lot early on is especially when we were in the early days, we at one point had people working in San Francisco, in Kansas City, in Seattle, in Denver, in Greenville, South Carolina, in New York, and in Texas. So that's 7 places, as well as LA. So 8 places that we had our employees all over the country. And I think in some senses that was great because what we was able to do about it was we were able to get really great talent all over the place. But in other senses it was hard because we ultimately, you have the communication gap where you're not able to kind of get right in front of people and ask them questions. So we learned a couple things, I think, in that process that we help make that more and more efficient. And so the first thing I think it starts with, find the right people that can handle being working remotely. Not everyone can handle working remotely, and so I think that was the first thing, is that folks that we hired that were used to working remotely were great. They didn't have any challenges with it and really enjoyed it. And so I think that's the first thing, is find people that really fit into that. The second thing is, I think, make sure that you find ways to get people together regularly in person. And so we would do something about quarterly where we would get the teams together all in one place where we could all work together for an extended period of time, be it a week or a long weekend or whatever it might be. Because I think no matter what, when you're building that kind of early culture, you need people to spend time together, having a few beers, having a few laughs, whatever it might be. So make sure that you do have ways that people can get together in person. And then the third thing I think that's also important in there is find tools. We used a tool called HipChat that I thought was a great way to kind of an instant messaging meets, document sharing company. So that was a great tool for us to use. But find out the tools that are great for you. I think our developers use GitHub as the primary way to communicate. But we found ultimately we wanted to get all people on GitHub because it was a great way for us to communicate as a company. So I think, that was a particular thing, is like, how do you wind up getting that together? And then I think the last lesson, and this is a lesson that we learned from Square, which I think is a really good company that's thought a lot about operationalizing itself, is focus on cadence. And cadence is a kind of a word that means a lot of different things in some ways, but for startups, it's particular to get people to feel like there's a rhythm to what's going on. And so that they know that every Friday from noon to 1:30, there's going to be an all hands call, and everyone's going to get on. It's going to be on this channel, and we're going to talk about this, and this person's going to present, and every month we're going to ship this feature and blah 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 blah. I think it's really important to get in a rhythm, because I think where there's a lot of uncertainty in early stage startups, especially when people are not in the office and able to see it, getting cadence is really important so that people feel like they're marching to the same drum and there's a plan looking forward to it. So I think working remotely is great on one hand because it does help people really find the best talent wherever you can find it, but it is also hard. And I think for us, we focused on finding the right people. We focused on getting people really to come together for periods of time to really focus on that stuff, making sure we had great tools for people to communicate, and finally, a cadence behind it. All that said, I do think it's still just hard. Doing remote employees is a challenging thing. So make sure that you think long and hard before you bring on someone remote, and make sure that they're the right person to do it.